Today I'm going to talk about Blackberry Picking by Seamus Heaney. Seamus Heaney was born in 1939 in Northern Ireland and was being considered one of the major poets of the 20th century. Heaney won the Nobel Prize for Literature in 1995 for works of lyrical beauty and ethical depth, which exalt everyday miracles and the living past. Blackberry Picking was first published in 1966 in the collection Death of a Naturalist. Most of the poems in this collection are about his childhood memory, his family, and his experience growing up. This poem depicts Heaney's innocent childhood memory of picking blackberries in late summer. In the first stanza, Heaney talks about his sweet experience picking blackberries with his family, despite the considerable amount of effort is needed during the process. There is a sudden change of tone and emotion in the second stanza as he starts to realize that the blackberries will rot very quickly. The rotting blackberry symbolizes the loss of childhood innocence over time. That as much as he wants to preserve it, there's nothing he can do but to hold on to this childish hope of keeping the blackberry forever. This is a 24-line, two-stanza poem written in 3 verse. Although it doesn't have regular patterns of rhyme, we are able to identify rhyme between some words in certain lines. Most of the lines within this poem are in enjambments, which creates a smooth flow throughout the poem. In Blackberry Picking, Heaney very effectively uses structure, sensory imagery, symbolism, and diction to reinforce the concept of change, and to express his sour emotion towards the inevitable loss of childhood innocence as he grew up by emphasizing the transience of time. Starting with structure, Heaney widely uses enjambment in his poem to give it a dynamic flow. It contributes to effectively express Heaney's excitement towards blackberry picking because enjambment allows one line to smoothly flow into the next. The dynamic created by enjambment makes the reader to feel that there's a lot of things going on at the same time, which shows a strong emotion of excitement. Enjambment allows the words in each sentence to be not limited by the length of the lines. Therefore, Heaney is able to include more detail in the sentences, which allows the readers to better understand the scene, and makes the scene to build up quickly in the poem. Just like in Heaney's famous poem, Death of the Naturalist, the poet constructed this poem with 2 stanzas. The first stanza strongly expresses his excitement and joy towards berry picking, as well as how much he enjoys the taste of blackberry. The emotions in the second stanza suddenly change from sweet to sour as he describes how the blackberries that he used to enjoy has rotten quickly and became inedible. He is disappointed because as much as he wants to preserve the blackberries, there's nothing he can do to prevent them from being spoiled by time. By dividing this poem into 2 stanzas, readers can more easily to make the comparison between before and after. This makes the change of emotions between the first and second stanza to be more standout, which contributes to convey the meaning of the poem more effectively. Imagery is one of the most important literary devices that Heaney uses in his poems. Imagery allows the readers to see what the poet sees, taste what the poet tastes, and smell what Heaney smells in the scene. He uses connotation and allusion to enhance the effect of imagery by establishing connections with the readers. First of all, Heaney describes how the blackberry looks like. Glossy purple clot describes the appearance of a fresh ripened blackberry. Glossy has the connotation of fresh and high quality. Then he describes when you eat the blackberry. Its flesh is as red and vibrant as summer's blood. Here the poet uses the connotation of summer to give the word blood some positivity, because we usually associate summer with joy and lively. Furthermore, he shows that the harvesting process is not easy because not only the environment is rough, that the briar scratched and wet grass bleached their boots, but also that their hands were peppered with thorn pricks. Heaney uses the illusion of bluebeards to depict that their palms are as sticky as if they have just killed several people. Heaney describes the poor condition of the blackberry with a fur of red-gray fungus. He conveys the message very effectively because it's very easy for the readers to form an image of this scene in their head. Heaney describes the taste of the blackberry as thickened wine, which is scarce and very rich in flavor. It shows how much he enjoys this extremely high-quality blackberry. Finally, Heaney describes the smell of the blackberry using very straightforward words. I believe it's very easy for the readers to imagine the sour smell of fermented fruit, the stink of spoiled juice, and the smell of rotten things. Although it seems like Heaney is focusing on talking about blackberries in this poem, the main idea of this poem isn't barely about picking blackberries. It symbolizes change and transformation that Heaney has experienced during the process of growing up. Heaney establishes a very sweet and warm atmosphere in the first stanza by glorifying the taste and the picking process of blackberries. In line 3 and line 4, the purple, red, and green berries symbolize the maturity of life at different stages. In this case, it symbolizes different stages from childhood to adulthood that Heaney goes through. Although the tone in the first stanza is quite positive, the word blood in line 6 may indicate Heaney's pain while growing up. Lust for picking in lines 7 and 8 may indicate his awakening sexual desire, which also shows increasing maturity. In the second stanza, Heaney describes that the blackberries that he intends to preserve are fermented and starts to stink. The sweet flesh would turn sour in 21st line is a symbolism of which Heaney's life has shifted from the sweet childhood life full of anticipation, excitement, and delightful things to a frustrating and sour adulthood, just like the sweet flesh of blackberries turned sour over time. Heaney uses symbolism in this poem to convey the main message of transience of time by emphasizing the power of time through his bitter emotions of not being able to control the inevitable change in life. Now let's talk about diction. The diction of this poem significantly contributes to convey the meaning effectively. As readers, we are able to see many details that are deeper than the literal meaning of certain words. To start with, August at the very beginning of the poem provides the readers a time reference. Late August is generally the end of summer, which is a changing point of weather in a year. Things like Blackberry will change as weather changes. It allows Heaney to foreshadow the key message of change of life that he will convey later in the poem. Glossy in line 3 describes the perfectly ripened blackberry. Heaney creates clear imagery of this part to convey how good the blackberry is. The word clot is also to convey the freshness of blackberry because a clot is coagulated liquid, which indicates the watery flesh of the berry. In line 10, briar, scratched, and wet grass bleached out boots. Heaney uses assonance to attract readers' attention and to intensify the message that he really enjoys picking blackberries even though the process causes pain. Assonance is used again in line 12 to emphasize his excitement towards berry picking. In line 15, Heaney describes the blackberries as a plate of ice. The language here is very simple but effective, because reader can easily imagine how a plate of ice would look like. The casual words actually make this phrase to be more powerful, like if Heaney is expressing his joyous feelings towards the big dark blobs of blackberry. In the same line, he uses strong imagery to describe the injuries caused while picking blackberries. Again, this is to emphasize the idea which he enjoys picking blackberries so much that he doesn't seem to mind the small injuries caused during the process. In the second stanza, we can see alliteration in line 18. The repetition of the sound of F was filled with founder fur, immediately followed by unpleasant things, like rat-gray fungus, conveys Heaney's negative emotions. It may indicate his frustration because of the blackberry that he cherishes and attempts to keep has gone bad very quickly. In line 19, Heaney uses the word glutting to describe the abundance of fungus. By saying a rat-gray fungus glutting on our cache in the poem, it makes the readers to feel that the blackberries are overwhelmed by a huge quantity of disgusting fungus. Finally, Heaney says the fruit fermented, the sweet flesh would turn sour. Here the fermented fruit is a symbolism of Heaney's own life. Fermentation requires time to turn blackberry flesh from sweet to sour. It's the same for life. As he grows older over time, the sweet things in his life would turn sour. Heaney reinforces the key message of transience of time in this poem by using fermented fruit to symbolize change in life over time, because fruits ferment much more quickly than change occurs in Heaney's life. At the end of the poem, after expressing the dramatic change of emotions, this particular line with very casual words undoubtedly makes Heaney's sour emotions to be conveyed very effectively. Each year, I hoped they'd keep, knew they would not. As readers, we are able to sense this bitter emotion of Heaney's even without reading all the previous lines in this stanza. Unlike many other poetry with relatively calm endings, this line is like the peak of emotional output of this poem. It creates a very strong impact on the readers because it makes us to rethink about everything that has occurred in the poem, which definitely reinforced the theme of this poem. In conclusion, this is a poem which is centered around Heaney's childhood memory of blackberry picking, which expresses the theme of loss of childhood innocence and transience of time. The classical Heaney style of two-stanza structure allows him to create a clear contrast with a sudden change of tone and emotions. He conveys the key message of the poem very effectively, not only with the help of the two-stanza structure, but more importantly, through the use of a variety of literary devices that reflect on his persistent style, including enjambment, imagery, symbolism, and diction. He also used alliteration, assonance, connotation, and allusion to convey the message more effectively, as well as making the poem more appealing to the readers.